It was the kind of morning that began like every other for Lily Moore. The rain tapped lightly against the smudged glass window of the corner cafe in Manhattan, and the scent of roasted coffee beans lingered in the air like a warm hug. Lily, wearing her faded green apron, moved swiftly behind the counter, pouring lattes, offering tight smiles, and nodding politely to customers who never cared to learn her name. She was used to being invisible. Used to being passed over. After all, she was just another 20-something trying to survive the city on tips and daydreams. But today wasn't like any other day. Today, fate had other plans. At exactly 8:32 a.m., the bells over the cafe door chimed. Heads didn't turn. Why would they? People came and went all day. But Lily noticed. She always noticed the small things. Like how the man who entered wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her entire rent for a year, or how his shoes were mirror-shined despite the wet sidewalks outside. He didn't just walk, he owned the space. Damian Blackwood, billionaire CEO. The name whispered through business tabloids and financial headlines. Ruthless, brilliant, untouchable. But right now, he looked lost. He stood by the door, eyes scanning the room, brows pinched together as if he wasn't really seeing the cafe but something far beyond it. Then suddenly, his gaze landed on her. Lily looked up from the cappuccino she was preparing, startled when his piercing gray eyes locked onto hers. She offered a polite smile, thinking he'd look away like everyone else. But he didn't. Instead, Damian Blackwood walked straight to the counter. "Can I help you?" she asked, slightly thrown off by his intense expression. He didn't answer. Not immediately. He studied her face, her freckled cheeks, the way her honey brown hair escaped her ponytail, the tired kindness in her eyes. And then, with a breathless chuckle that sounded almost desperate, he said, "Yes, you can help me. I need you to be my date to a wedding." Lily blinked. "Excuse me, my ex-fiancé's wedding, this Saturday. I'll pay you $50,000. She stared at him, waiting for the punchline. It never came. "That's not funny," she said cautiously, glancing around to see if someone was filming her. "I'm not joking." She nearly dropped the coffee in her hand. Just 3 days earlier, Damian had received the wedding invitation. Embossed, elegant, smug. His ex, Vanessa Grayson, New York's society darling, was marrying a tech investor. Her new fiancé wasn't richer than Damian, but he was safe. Predictable. And painfully dull. Vanessa had broken off their engagement a year ago, claiming Damian was too cold, too intense, too damaged. But sending an invitation to her wedding, that was salt in a still fresh wound. He hadn't planned to go. Until his assistant, Meredith, leaned over his desk and said with a smirk, "You're not seriously letting her win, are you?" "I don't care." "Good. Then you won't mind showing up with someone jaw-droppingly unexpected. Someone who will make Vanessa question every decision she's ever made." He rolled his eyes. "Like who?" Meredith leaned in. "Anyone. Just, not a model. Not a celebrity. Make it real. Make it sting." So Damian walked out of his building, stepped into his car, and told his driver to take him to a place where nobody knew his name. He wanted real. Grounded. Someone who wouldn't fawn over his wealth or status. That's when he saw the cafe. And her. Back in the cafe, Lily stood frozen. She should have said no. Should have laughed it off and gone back to steaming milk. But there was something in his voice, earnest, maybe even broken. And there was something in her heart that was tired of saying no to life. "I don't even know you," she whispered. "You'll get to know me. I just need you to pretend for one night." One night. 50 grand. Cash. No strings. She hesitated. Her rent was 2 months behind. Her mother's medical bills were suffocating. Her dreams of finishing college were buried under debt. What could one night hurt? "Okay," she said quietly. "I'll do it." The next few days were a whirlwind. Damian sent a car, and she found herself in the penthouse suite of Blackwood Enterprises, where stylists and designers measured her for custom gowns, selected jewelry that sparkled like stars, and transformed her into someone she barely recognized in the mirror. But through it all, Damian remained distant. Polite, but guarded. They rehearsed their story, how they met, their relationship, the fake laughs, the pet names. "You're good at pretending," Lily said during one practice dinner. He looked at her, unreadable. "You have no idea." But beneath his cool exterior, Lily caught glimpses of something else. When he thought she wasn't looking, she saw the weariness in his eyes. The sadness he tried to hide behind boardroom confidence. And more than once, she wondered what really happened between him and Vanessa. The wedding day arrived. A sprawling estate in Connecticut, overflowing with roses and paparazzi. Everyone turned to stare when Damien stepped out of the sleek black car, with Lily on his arm. She wore a sapphire gown that shimmered like the ocean. Damien, in a tailored tux, didn't look at anyone else. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Who is she? She's not one of us. She's beautiful. Vanessa froze when she saw them. Her perfect smile twitched. Her fiancé looked confused. Lily smiled sweetly and leaned into Damien. Ready to sell this? He nodded, but his jaw clenched. As they made their rounds, Lily played the part effortlessly, laughing at his jokes, holding his hand, whispering in his ear. But somewhere along the way, the pretending started to blur. The way he looked at her no longer felt like an act. The way her heart fluttered no longer felt fake. Then came the toast. Vanessa's father, too drunk to filter his thoughts, raised his glass and said, "Damien, you dodged a bullet." "And, what's your name, sweetheart?" "Lily," she said calmly. "Well, Lily, enjoy the show. Just don't expect it to last. He breaks everything he touches." Silence fell. Lily's hands trembled under the table. But Damien stood. And for the first time that evening, he wasn't pretending. "I did break things," he said, voice low but steady. "Because I didn't know what I wanted. Until now." Then he looked at Lily, not as an accessory, not as a prop, but as something else entirely. "I wanted real. And I think I just found it." Lily's heart thudded in her chest. She wasn't supposed to fall for him. He wasn't supposed to feel anything. But here they were, two broken people in a world that demanded perfection. The ride back from the wedding was silent. The laughter, the whispers, the champagne smiles, they were gone now. Replaced by the thick, quiet tension between Damien and Lily, sitting only inches apart in the back of a luxury car, but feeling a mile away from each other. He had said it in front of everyone. He had looked her in the eyes and confessed something he wasn't supposed to feel. "I think I just found it." The line kept echoing in her head like a haunting lullaby. But now, he said nothing. Was it part of the act? Was it real? Lily sat with her hands folded in her lap, still wearing the $1,000 sapphire gown and borrowed diamonds. But inside, she felt like a fraud. She wasn't from his world. And despite the way her heart fluttered when he looked at her like she mattered, she knew reality would come crashing down sooner or later. "About what you said back there," she began softly. "I meant it," Damien interrupted without looking at her. "All of it." She blinked, stunned. "You did." He turned toward her finally, his expression unreadable. "You think I've ever brought anyone into my life like this? Let alone to a wedding that reminded me of the biggest humiliation I've ever experienced." She lowered her eyes. "I don't know what to think." "That's the problem," he muttered. "Neither do I." Back at the penthouse, Damien offered her a guest suite for the night. "It's too late to go back to your apartment," he said. "And it's in a terrible neighborhood." She wanted to protest. Wanted to say she could take care of herself. But part of her didn't want to leave. She didn't sleep. She sat by the window, looking out over the glittering New York skyline, her mind racing with questions she had no answers to. Was this still part of the deal? Was she falling for him? Was he falling for her? The next morning, everything changed. Lily walked into the kitchen, hair a mess, wearing one of the softest silk robes she'd ever touched. Damien stood at the counter, scrolling through his phone, jaw tight. He looked up, and his expression darkened. "You need to leave," he said. The words hit like a slap. "What?" He held up his phone. "The tabloids. They found you. Found everything." Her heart stopped. He turned the screen toward her. There, in bold letters. "Damien Blackwood's mystery wedding date is a waitress from Brooklyn, gold digger or Cinderella." Her face. Her name. Her job. Her past. Everything was out. "They're digging through your life, Lily. I should have known this would happen." She took a shaky step back. "So you're blaming me for this?" "I'm protecting you." "No," she said, voice rising. "You're protecting yourself. Because the moment this stopped being pretend, when it started to feel real, you got scared." His silence was confirmation enough. I don't want your money, she whispered, eyes burning. I never did. I know. Then why are you pushing me away? He looked down. Because I ruin everything I care about. Lily left. No car, no driver. Just her and the cold, bitter wind slicing through the city. The days that followed were gray. She went back to the cafe, back to pouring coffee, back to fading into the background. But something had changed. The girl who once dreamed quietly now ached loudly. For something more. For someone she could no longer have. Meanwhile, Damien spiraled. He stopped going into the office. Ignored calls. The headlines got worse. CEO meltdown. Blackwood missing after tabloid storm. His board grew nervous. Investors pulled back. But none of that hurt as much as losing her. Meredith, his assistant, finally barged into his penthouse. Get up. I'm not in the mood. I don't care. You need to fix this. There's nothing to fix. Meredith slammed a tabloid down in front of him. She was just a waitress, but the way she defended him broke the internet. He blinked. What? Watch this, she said, playing a clip. It was Lily, caught outside the cafe by reporters, surrounded by mics. One asked, "Are you heartbroken that he dumped you?" She shook her head, face flushed but fierce. He didn't dump me. He protected me. Damien Blackwood may be a lot of things, but he's not cruel. And I don't regret a single moment I spent with him. The reporter pressed. Do you love him? She hesitated, and then smiled sadly. I think I do. Damien drove to the cafe. No bodyguards. No limo. Just him, shaken, sleepless, and unsure for the first time in years. She was wiping tables when he walked in. Their eyes locked. Her breath caught. He approached slowly. I watched the video. She nodded, lips trembling. It was the truth. He exhaled. I've spent years building walls so high, no one could get in. But you didn't even knock. You just walked through. She laughed through her tears. I didn't mean to. I know. That's what makes it real. Silence fell between them, and then Damien took a step closer. Lily Moore, I'm not asking you to pretend anymore. No contracts. No costumes. No lies. Just us. Will you give me another chance? She searched his face, saw the fear, the hope, the man behind the empire. She nodded. Yes. 3 months later, the tabloids got something new. Waitress turned CEO's love story steals hearts, engagement confirmed. But Lily didn't care about the headlines. Because some love stories don't begin with fate. They begin with a broken man walking into a coffee shop. And choosing a girl who never expected to be chosen. Snow fell softly on the city the morning Lily Moore became Mrs. Lily Blackwood. The wedding was nothing like Damien's previous engagement to Vanessa. No reporters. No ice sculptures or magazine deals. Just close friends, warm candlelight, and the man who once thought love was weakness, now standing in front of her, heart wide open. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Damien leaned in and whispered against her lips, "I never thought I'd get this lucky." She smiled. "I never thought I'd get chosen." They kissed. The guests stood and applauded. And outside, beneath the snow-dusted trees, someone watched through the frosted windows. A man in a worn leather jacket. Hands clenched. Eyes locked on the bride. 2 weeks later, Lily's new life began in a whirlwind of silk bedsheets, boardroom visits, and daily kisses that still made her knees weak. She no longer poured coffee for strangers. Now she poured ideas into Damien's rebranded charity division, Second Chance Foundation, which she helped create. Every day felt like a dream she didn't dare wake up from. Until the past came knocking. Literally. One Thursday evening, as Lily stood in the penthouse kitchen tasting burnt risotto and laughing at herself, the doorbell rang. Damien called from the study. "Got it, love." "On it," she replied, still wearing an apron. She opened the door, and froze. It was him. Dark hair, piercing eyes, that jagged scar on his left brow. "Lily," he said, voice low, rough like gravel. "You look different." She gripped the edge of the door. "Jason." Damien appeared behind her, confused. "Who is it?" Jason looked past Lily and smirked. "Guess I'm late for the party." Later, when the three of them sat tensely in the living room, Lily explained. Jason was her ex. The only ex. They had been high school sweethearts. Lived together in a rundown apartment before he got involved in the wrong kind of business. She left when he became dangerous. Disappeared. No contact since. Until now. I'm not here to start drama, Jason said. Just needed to see if you were real. All those headlines, I thought, no way that's the same girl who used to cry herself to sleep when the lights got cut off. But it is. You should leave, Damien said firmly, his arm around Lily. Jason's gaze flicked to Damien. You got everything. The penthouse. The girl. But do you know who she really is? Lily's voice cracked. Jason, don't. But it was too late. Jason dropped the envelope on the coffee table. Inside were photos. One showed Lily, 6 years ago, in a hospital hallway holding a newborn baby. Another, a hospital wristband. A birth certificate, Lily's name listed as mother. No father listed. Damien stared at the papers. Lily. Tears filled her eyes. I was 19. I was scared. I gave her up for adoption. I've never told anyone. Silence. Not judgment. Not rage. Just silence. Until Damien gently reached for her hand. Why didn't you tell me? Because I thought, if you knew the truth, you'd see me differently. You'd leave. Damien shook his head slowly. You are more than I ever imagined. And I'm not going anywhere. But Jason wasn't finished. I found her, he said softly. Your daughter. Her name's Ava. She's in foster care. The couple who adopted her passed away last year. I tracked her down. Lily gasped. Why are you telling me this now? Because I messed up. And you're the only person who ever believed I could be more. Damien stood. What are you asking? Jason looked up. Help me help her. I can't do this alone. She's your daughter, Lily. She deserves the life you're living. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. Meetings were cancelled. Trips were postponed. Lily and Damien threw themselves into one mission, finding Ava and bringing her home. It wasn't easy. There were court dates, interviews, background checks. But through it all, Damien never wavered. He sat through every hearing. Held Lily's hand through every setback. Called in every favor, not as a CEO, but as a man trying to build a family with the woman he loved. And finally, the call came. She's yours, the social worker said with a tearful smile. She's going home. When Lily met Ava for the first time, the little girl was quiet. Guarded. Small for her age. Lily knelt and opened her arms. Ava hesitated, and then ran into them. That night, as they sat under a blanket on the couch, Damien read to Ava from a picture book while Lily watched, heart full. They weren't just a couple anymore. They were a family.